and just be together with your immediate family in the first few days and weeks. So, I hope to be able to see the baby sometime soon, but I feel ridiculously happy, actually. So excited for them both. It's a wonderful event. Oh, everybody's absolutely thrilled, as you can imagine. As I say, I feel ridiculously happy for them.
With children, it's always, you've got to be careful not to overdo that. If they witnessed, or sometimes people absorb things by osmosis, they rush about doing every kind.
The British royal family has always walked a razor's edge between tradition and transformation. On one hand, it dazzles the world with glittering tiaras, gilded carriages, and ancient rituals. On the other, it must constantly adapt to remain relevant in a society that prizes openness, authenticity, and human connection. But every so often, a moment slips past the carefully polished veneer raw, unguarded instant that exposes the monarchy not as an institution, but as a family of flesh and blood. Such a moment arrived in early 2025. It didn't happen in front of flashing cameras, nor on the balcony of Buckingham Palace, nor even at a state occasion. Instead, it took place in a quiet, sterile hospital room, where Catherine, Princess of Wales, cradled a newborn child no one outside the palace knew existed. 4 words, that was all it took. 4 words whispered to her husband, Prince William, that left the monarchy rattled, the media in a frenzy, and the public rethinking what it really means to be royal. But how did we get here? What do they mean? And why might this secret baby and Catherine's emotional confession mark a turning point in royal history? Let's rewind. By January 2025, whispers had already begun to circulate in the palace corridors. Staff who had worked closely with Catherine noticed the subtle signs: a carefully adjusted schedule, fewer public appearances, discreet doctor visits, and a protective William who seemed more guarded than ever. But unlike her previous pregnancies, each one announced with formal press releases and followed with intense public scrutiny, this one was wrapped in silence. Kensington Palace issued no confirmation, no photographs, no official bump watch. In fact, the silence was so deafening that royal reporters began to doubt the rumors entirely. Was Catherine really expecting a 4th child, or was it simply speculation born of a slowed calendar and clever camera angles? Insiders would later reveal that the secrecy was deliberate. After more than a decade in the royal spotlight, Catherine and William had learned the high cost of publicity when it came to family milestones. Their children George, Charlotte, and Louis had grown up under relentless media scrutiny, and the couple was determined to shield their new baby from the same fate, at least in the early days. What few realized at the time was that this pregnancy was about more than just expanding the family. For Catherine, it was also about reclaiming a measure of control over her body, her role, and her story. The birth itself unfolded quietly in a private wing of St. Mary's Hospital in London, the same hospital where the Wales children were born. But this time, the usual choreography was absent. No grand media announcement, no steps outside with a radiant princess in a dress chosen to signal warmth and stability. No global photo calls. The child, healthy, strong, and now part of one of the most famous families on earth, entered the world in near total secrecy. For a few brief hours, the Waleses had what they had long craved: privacy. But then came Catherine's words. Those present recall the moment vividly. Catherine, exhausted yet glowing as she held her newborn, turned to William and whispered 4 words: "I can't do this alone." To anyone else, they may have sounded simple, even ordinary, but in the context of royalty, they were seismic. Here was the Princess of Wales, a woman who has been praised for her composure, admired for her poise, and celebrated for her ability to juggle the demands of public duty and private motherhood. Yet in this unguarded instant, she revealed the strain that had been building quietly beneath the surface. It wasn't about doubting her love for the baby, nor was it about rejecting her royal role. It was about something far more human, the overwhelming reality of balancing motherhood, duty, and expectation at the highest level imaginable. Those words, leaked weeks later by a trusted aide, struck a chord across Britain and beyond. When the story broke in mid-2025, headlines exploded. Kate cracks under pressure. Monarchy in crisis after princess's emotional plea. Fourth baby, fourth burden. Catherine's secret revealed. Some tabloids spun it as a sign of weakness. Others interpreted it as a bold cry for change, a rare glimpse behind the curtain of royal perfection. On social media, however, the response was overwhelmingly supportive. Hashtags like #SupportKate and #KateTheMom began trending. Parents from around the world rallied behind her, sharing their own struggles with exhaustion, doubt, and the pressure of raising children in a modern world. As one user on X put it, "If Kate can admit she needs help, so can we. Royals or not, parenting is hard." For perhaps the first time, Catherine wasn't just admired, she was understood. Inside palace walls, the revelation had an even deeper impact. King Charles, already grappling with health concerns, reportedly saw Catherine's admission as a wake-up call. If even the monarchy's most polished figure felt overburdened, perhaps the system itself needed to change. Prince William, for his part, stood firmly by his wife. Insiders claim he scaled back public duties in the weeks following the baby's birth to prioritize family time at Anmer Hall, their Norfolk retreat. Together, the couple committed to raising their children with love, balance, and privacy, even if it meant bending centuries-old royal traditions. But Catherine's words also sparked a larger debate. Could the monarchy itself survive in a world where emotional honesty is prized over stoic silence? To understand the weight of Catherine's confession, it's worth reflecting on her journey. Back in 2013, just hours after giving birth to Prince George, Catherine appeared on the hospital steps in heels and a radiant dress, smiling for the cameras despite obvious exhaustion. It was a performance in line with expectations. Royals must appear unshakable, flawless, and eternally composed. But over the years, Catherine has quietly rewritten that script. She has championed mental health initiatives like Heads Together, often speaking openly about the importance of vulnerability. She has emphasized hands-on parenting, walking her children to school, bending down to their level at public events, and shielding them when the spotlight became too harsh. By admitting, "I can't do this alone," she wasn't abandoning her role. She was reasserting her humanity within it. And in doing so, she sent a message to millions of parents: even a princess needs help sometimes. Unlike George, Charlotte, and Louis, this baby remains shrouded in mystery. No name has been announced. No photographs have been released. No titles have been confirmed. Why? Some speculate that William and Catherine intend to raise this child outside the traditional royal structure, granting them freedom to choose their own path in life. Others suggest it's a calculated attempt to reclaim control of their family narrative in an age of relentless digital speculation. Whatever the case, the decision marks a dramatic departure from royal tradition. For centuries, royal births were public spectacles. Now, the future of the monarchy may lie in privacy. Catherine's 4 words didn't just spark sympathy, they also ignited discussions about the monarchy's very future. Could responsibilities be restructured to ease the burden on senior royals? Might Princess Beatrice and Princess Eugenie take on more active roles? Could this be the beginning of a team monarchy, where duty is shared more evenly instead of concentrated on a few key figures? William, who has long advocated for modernization, is said to be exploring new models for the royal family, ones that balance tradition with compassion. Catherine's moment of vulnerability may well become the catalyst for institutional change. Unlike the divisive dramas of recent years, from Prince Harry's departure to Meghan Markle's explosive interviews, Catherine's confession brought unity rather than division. For once, there was no factional war between royalists and republicans. Instead, there was an overwhelming recognition of shared humanity. Parents, workers, and ordinary citizens rallied behind her honesty, seeing in her struggles a reflection of their own. One post that went viral summed it up perfectly. Kate isn't a princess first, she's a mom first. And that's what makes her real. Historically, the monarchy's strength was built on silence. Royals were expected to keep calm, carry on, and reveal nothing of their inner lives. But Catherine has challenged that model. By admitting her vulnerability, she has shown that strength doesn't come from perfection, but from honesty. She has redefined what it means to be royal in the 21st century, making it less about gilded crowns and more about relatable humanity. The future of the monarchy remains uncertain. Will this mysterious fourth child grow up shielded from royal duties? Will Catherine and William succeed in balancing tradition with modern parenthood? And perhaps most importantly, will Catherine's candid words reshape the monarchy into an institution that values well-being as much as duty? For now, one thing is clear. Catherine's 4 words have already left a permanent mark. They have cracked the palace walls just enough to let the world see what lies inside, not just jewels and titles, but vulnerability, love, and the universal struggle of parenthood. In a way, this secret baby may be the most revolutionary royal of all, not because of their bloodline, but because of the honesty they inspired. So, what do you think? Did Catherine's raw confession humanize the monarchy, or expose cracks that could shake it to its core? And what will this mysterious fourth child mean for the royal family's future? To truly grasp the significance of Catherine's whispered confession, we need to look back at history. This isn't the first time a royal has felt crushed by the weight of duty, but it may be the first time the admission was spoken aloud and embraced with empathy. Take Queen Elizabeth II. She ascended the throne at just 25 years old, suddenly responsible for an empire, while still raising 2 young children. By all accounts, she carried the burden with extraordinary discipline, but at an enormous personal cost. Those who knew her privately spoke of loneliness, exhaustion, and the emotional distance she sometimes felt forced to maintain. Yet never once did she allow such feelings to reach the public. Princess Diana, by contrast, dared to break that silence. She openly admitted to feeling isolated and overwhelmed, famously describing her marriage as crowded. Her vulnerability won her immense public sympathy, but also fueled tensions within the royal household. Catherine's words, "I can't do this alone," echo both these histories. From Elizabeth, we see the crushing expectation of unshakable duty. From Diana, we see the courage to speak openly about struggle. But unlike either, Catherine's moment comes in an era when vulnerability is increasingly seen as strength, not weakness. The difference, this time, the world isn't scandalized, it's supportive. This fourth child may never wear a crown, but their birth arrives at a turning point for the monarchy. King Charles III faces ongoing health challenges, sparking discussions about whether his reign will be a brief transition before William takes the throne. Prince Harry remains estranged from the family, his memoirs and interviews casting shadows across the royal brand. And public opinion about the monarchy itself is divided, with younger generations in particular questioning its relevance. In this fragile climate, the arrival of a new royal baby is more than just a family milestone. It's a symbolic gesture of continuity, proof that the Windsor line marches on, generation after generation. But it's also a test. How this child is raised could signal the monarchy's direction for decades to come. Will they grow up shielded, living a life closer to normalcy than tradition? Or will they, like George, Charlotte, and Louis, be carefully groomed for a role within the royal institution? The choice William and Catherine make for this child may redefine, not only their family, but the monarchy itself. Behind the walls of Buckingham and Kensington, insiders say Catherine's words sparked heated discussions. Some courtiers worry that too much openness threatens the monarchy's mystique. After all, the crown has always survived by presenting itself as extraordinary, almost untouchable. But others argue that the opposite is true, that survival in the 21st century depends on connection, not distance. If the public sees the royals as relatable, human, and emotionally honest, they may be more inclined to support the monarchy as a modern institution rather than an outdated relic. Prince William is said to fall firmly into this latter camp. His mother's legacy clearly influences him, and Catherine's candid plea has only strengthened his resolve to modernize. Sources suggest he's exploring ways to broaden the monarchy's structure, redistributing responsibilities to younger royals, and ensuring no single individual is crushed under impossible expectations. Could this mean more prominent roles for Princess Beatrice and Princess Eugenie? Could Zara Tindall, despite not having a title, become a bigger part of royal outreach? These are questions being quietly weighed. It's worth noting how powerfully Catherine's words resonated with the public. In many ways, she has stepped into the role once held by Princess Diana, the royal who feels most like us. But Catherine's approach is different. Where Diana often clashed with the institution, Catherine seems determined to reshape it from within. Her projects on early childhood development, her focus on mental health, and her deliberate choices as a mother all suggest a strategy rooted not in rebellion, but in transformation. And perhaps that's why her 4 words struck such a chord. She didn't reject her role. She didn't denounce the crown. She simply admitted